So welcome back to week 2 of how to paint and draw your Galaxy Girl. Hopefully you've got a really nice dried Galaxy Girl already. So I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to crack on with the rest of the tutorial. So did you let it dry naturally? Have we told the truth? I am sometimes tempted to, blow dry it, but, it's much better if it's left to dry naturally. So, how cool! So you can see all the loveliness that the combination of the bleach and the salt has done. Hopefully you've got something very similar. Hopefully. So, the first thing to do is to brush away the salt, and you just need to do that with your fingers. So, just give it a brush. And, the salt will come off. Throw it over your shoulder for good luck and all that. So you'll see that it's kind of a bit wishy-washy in places and perhaps not quite as vibrant and as punchy as perhaps we'd like it to be. So now we can start to layer up this baby. So we need to go back to our water and our watercolour and just start adding the colours again. I'm happy with some of the darker colours. The lighter colours. It's just the black is not as vibrant as I would have liked it to be. So I'm just adding some more black, and that's probably it. I'm not really sure when other colours I might add. I'm not sure yet. We'll just see. That's what I do. I just kind of play it by ear. I'm not sure I like all of that green there. But it's fun just to kind of, experiment and let go with it, basically. And it does take a while, so, for drying and coming back, so you need to be strong and leave it and, come back to it. But it means that you extend the fun, which is why I have quite a few on the go at any one time. Because I quite like doing it. I find it very therapeutic. I really enjoy it. Okay, so now I'm going to add some of my Cosmic Shimmer Mists in while this is still wet. And, we're laying it up. It does different things. And we're just going to spray it on. If you're worried about getting anything on your face, we can mask her face off. So just need to get yourself a plain piece of paper, and what you need to do is you need to roughly work out the shape of your face. So she's something like that. Okay, so you need to roughly work out the shape of your face and cut the face shape out. Very rough. Doesn't really matter. It's just we're just masking off a little bit just so they don't get too much on her face, because we want her to have a nice sort of pretty skin tone face. Oh, look how massively I did her cheeks. But it's okay. We won't worry about that. So you just need to line the mask up a little bit there. So we've covered her face a bit. Because sometimes spray does have a tendency of going everywhere. So with these Cosmic Shimmer Mists, you really have to give them a shake because all the mica powder settles to the bottom. So if you're doing homemade inks and you've put glitter in, you may need to do the same thing. But yeah, as I said, you can use homemade sprays. It doesn't matter at all what you use. Go, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And then what I also do, is the purple. Let's give the purple a shaky shake. I also just take the, what do you call this? I undo the lid, so I've got a load there, and I just drop her it in like that. You know, it's picked it up from the tubey thing. I don't know. Watch your clothes when you're doing this, folks. It's, you know, it does go everywhere. And if your black is still wet, you can drop it in, and it will just start to move around in exactly the same way. And not a lot is coming out of this. Okay, so we're basically doing everything that we did before, and just layering it all up a bit. Let's get a puddle there. Let's get a puddle. Let's get another puddle there as well. Now I have got some sprayage over the side there, or you know, past her hair, and I'm not bothered about that at all, because I'll either cut her out or I'll do a sort of a funky background. What you can also do, and I advise you do this with clean water, but I've got black water now, is just flick some water on, and the wet, that will just activate some of the watercolour that you've already got on your paper, and that will help it to spread. I want to make my red a bit more vibrant, actually. My water is a bit grungy now. Let's add some more red in there. And the colours you do are all depending on what colour you want your galaxy to be, of course. Oh, that went a bit murky because I've got dark water. I need to change my water. I'll be back. I'm back. I don't change my water nearly as frequently as I should do because I'm naughty like that. So basically I want you to do exactly the same thing that you did last week. You just layer it in different places. You can add some on top. Like here I'm adding yellow over the top of the blue and green, so that gives it more of a different look. Watercolour, if you haven't fixed it, will reactivate and run again. So just, folks, you're going to notice a continuity problem in as much as I've now got blue painted nails, because my memory card finished. It just cut out recording, and I didn't notice because I was yabba 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 yabba. So I'm going to carry on where that left off. There, you didn't miss anything, but obviously now that you're watching, I've got blue nails, so that is why. So what I was saying is that when you're using watercolour on top of watercolour, unless you've fixed your watercolour, the watercolour will react. So it will start to get wet and move around again, but don't worry about that, because that all forms kind of part of the look, really. So just keep layering up. What you want to do is you want to keep on layering, layer, until you're happy with it, you know. So, and then add more salt, add more bleach, basically just keep going until you know you're happy. I've got to a point where I'm fairly happy. I'm not sure if the camera picks up a little bit of the shimmer, but I just really love, mine's dried obviously from how you saw it last. I just love some of this really mottled effect that the salt leaves and the bleach leaves. I just love it. Really makes me very happy. So that's my galaxy so far. I think I'm going to add a bit more spray to it, just because I feel like going crazy. Sometimes there comes a point where you've done too much, I think. Oh, clogged up, are you? A bit clogged up. So sometimes it comes a point where you've done a bit too much, and you can go too far with it. But you know, generally speaking, just have a play. It's good fun. Just have a little play. Just gonna add, oh, my sprays are clogged up. That's the one thing with these cosmic shimmer mists, is that the glitter, the mica powder in them, does tend to clog up your spray. So you have to kind of have to keep cleaning them out. So yeah, just add a bit here and there where you fancy, and water obviously. So you just keep on adding your layers, adding layers, just, you know, where you fancy basically, and then let it all dry, let it all dry. Again, just remember you want to let it dry naturally, because if you start using a gun to, you know, a heat tool to dry it, the water's just going to spread everywhere, and you're going to get runs and drips, which might necessarily be what you want. So you just want to leave it flat and let it dry naturally. Okay, so once it's dry, and you're happy with how it looks, you don't want to add any more layers on top, you can either leave it as it is if you want like a really mottly hair, or we can start adding, you know, stars and the Milky Way and that sort of thing. So you want to grab your recycled material again and get your white acrylic paint and... I don't look after my stuff very well. Okay, put a squidge in your tray, and then you want to get your clean water with your clean brush and put a bit of water in there because you want to make it quite wet and runny, basically. Okay, and give it a good mix up. Okay, so it's nice and wet and runny. And what I do is I do a combination of, I get my toothbrush, and you want to make sure that you've got your old clothes on and nothing around you because it will spray around. But you want to take your toothbrush and your really liquidy acrylic paint in there, and then you want to just spray and flick all around. Again, you want to make sure your face is covered if you don't want to get any of it on your face. And then just spray. And this gives you lots of little itty bitty stars. So when it comes to this, less is more sometimes. Just remember that. You will get mucky. So you need to wipe that off before you kind of touch your camera, Anna. And then to get the bigger stars, what I do is I just take a brush. My brush isn't very clean. Take a brush, dip it in your clean water, dip it in here again, into your paint, and then I just flick randomly with my brush. If you don't have a toothbrush, you could actually totally ignore the toothbrush because you can do it with this. See, here I've got a few big stars, not too keen on them, but whatever. You know, I've got some bigger stars in places. Oops. Bigger stars and smaller stars. And that's how you create your stars. So let that dry. I'm going to wipe my fingers and come back. Okay, so I changed my water as well. You want to do that periodically, as and when you can. So let's leave the hair and the stars to dry, and let's work on the face a little bit. I've kind of gone over a bit with my colour, you know, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to tidy her up a bit. I'm just going to use my blending stump just to blend out some of that pencil so it's not a harsh line. But I want to keep that there just for a bit of shadow on her, around her chin, so you can see her chin separate from her neck. If you don't have a blending stump, you can use a finger, or you can just rub your lines out. But depending on what pencil you've used, if you've used a B type pencil, a soft pencil, then that will tend to smudge when you use watercolour. Not so much if you use a HB. So just bear that in mind as well. Okie dokie. So let's very softly draw in her lips. So I'm just using a HB pencil because it's a lot easier to rub out. Okay, so we've already roughly placed her eyes. Let me see. Okay, yeah, so I'm fairly happy with where her eyes are. I'm just going to bring her eyes down slightly, and I'm literally just going to do her eyes closed because it's a lot easier for a tutorial. If you've never drawn faces before, eyes can be quite complicated or difficult. A lot of people struggle with eyes, so we're just going to have her eyes closed. Okay, I just need to get a ruler Just to show you guys and my... Okay, so when it comes to drawing the mouth and the nose, you have your eyes roughly a third of the way down the head, and then half again is where your nose will be, and then half again will be where your mouth will be. So roughly in those 2 points. I tend to draw the mouth in first, and then the nose, and then I rub it all out again and start again, and I go backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. But that's just the way I am, because I like to kind of make sure that I'm happy with how it looks. So to draw the mouth, it's basically an upside down M. So you've got the V and then the two points. Now, if you feel your own features on your face, mine, if I hold my hand up to my face, my lips, I think on the end of my lips, come to just about there on my eyes. So just bear that in mind. I mean, I think I've done her eyes quite big on her head, actually. Let's give us, because her eyes go right to the side of the head. Let's just make her eyes a bit smaller. There we go. So my end of my mouth comes to about there on my eyes. So I'm going to do that. So you want a little V in the middle, and then you want an M shape. And you can do a small M, or you can do an over-exaggerated M. It depends on how you want your lips to be, and that's kind of a whole other tutorial, really. So you can do a sort of a bigger M like that, or you can do a much bigger M. It depends on kind of how big you want your upper lip to be, but just have a play around with it. You might only want to do a very subtle one, which is what I'm doing, because remember, this isn't realism, it's stylized. So, and if you want to be slightly smiley, you want to raise the ends up slightly. And then in the middle, you want to do another little, very small V, curvy V, that mirrors the top shape there. And then you want to bring that out to the sides. And then you want to bring your bottom lip down. I mean, this, guys, is only a very, very quick, rough how to draw a girl, how to draw the lips and the face and everything, because the main tutorial was on how to do the hair, so just bear that in mind. So what I do is I do that, and then I draw the nose, and then I usually come back and end up redoing the mouth again. That's just the way I work until I get it how I like it. So if we go up from the 2 points of the mouth and do 2 little lines, that's where we normally have our little lines that go up to our nose. And then in between those, I do a little scoop as the bottom of the nose. And again, it's more like another little M shape, little wings, and I curve those round to make the nostrils. Like so. So, there we go. And as I say, I just play around with it, get it until I get it how I like it. And everyone has different, if you've done different classes, Romany, from Romany's Realm, she teaches you one way, and there are classes from like Willowing, Tamara, she teaches another way. There's lots of different ways of teaching how to draw a face. So that's just my one way. So she looks a little bit stern, but that's because I've got some blops of ink there where they shouldn't be. So that's why she looks a bit stern. I'm just going to give her some eyebrows, a bit of an arch, and so to lift her up a bit. So now she doesn't look quite so stern, if you see. You can't see those splotches of ink. The wind is really howling here today. You can hear lots of noise. So there we go. There's the facial features. I'm just going to blend them a little bit because I don't want them too harsh. And I'm going to rub them out very slightly because I still want to be able to see them when I'm painting, but I don't want them to be really, really harsh lines. So I just rub them out very slightly. And that one I've really smudged. Oh, of course, because I keep forgetting that's the ink. Oh, what a wally, what a wally. Okay, so now we need to get painting with our watercolours. Okay, so for this you would also be quite useful if you had a piece of tissue or bathroom tissue, that kind of thing, just to blot up some of the colour. So as I say, I'm only doing a rough tutorial on painting the face and drawing the face because there are many more tutorials out there that do a far more in-depth job. So if you are interested, go and check those out. So grabbing our watercolours, the colours that make the flesh tone are a sort of a yellowy yellow ochre, a white and a red colour, and that's what you want to mix up here. So I've actually already got my colour already mixed up, ready to go. But what you need to do is you need to take equal parts of red and yellow and then add your white until you get a pinky salmony colour like that. And if it's not the colour you wanted to do, add more red, add more yellow, add more white until you get to the colour you want to. But this is for a Caucasian skin. I'm just going to do the Caucasian because otherwise I could be here forever, because there are very many different skin tones and colour combinations to make those skin tones, and yeah, this tutorial would be huge. So apologies for that. I am just going to do the white. So yeah, so on this occasion I'm just going to do the white or the Caucasian. So apologies about that, but yeah, it just takes too long. So I've got my fleshy tone all mixed up, and I'm just going to start with the outer edges because that's where I want it to be darker because of the shadow from her hair. And I want you just to be very delicate when it comes to next to the colour of the hair, because as I said, you don't want to really reactivate any of that colour that hasn't been set yet. So just work your way around the edges into the middle. Okay, then just drag some of that colour on the forehead down. And what you want to do before it dries is take some of your tissue and just blot in the middle of the forehead. That way you've got a little bit of colour left, but not too much colour, because the forehead and the nose, this bit and this bit, are often like whiter than the rest of the face, because of, you know, shine and light. So you just want to keep those a bit on the lighter side, just by removing the colour. And if you do, you just don't be afraid to blot before it sinks into the paper. If you guys want me to do more of a tutorial on painting or drawing faces and shadows and stuff, then let me know. I'm happy to do it. Just if there's a you know, a demand for it. So here, what I've put extra, I'm just going to use a bit of water just to blend out where some of it is dried. And as I said, some of my pencil is kind of smudged, as I knew it would. Okay, so just going to remove some of the colour. I'm going to reactivate that a bit because I'm not too happy with that. But I quite like my girls fairly pale. You may prefer yours a little bit darker, so that's why she's quite pale, because that's how I prefer my girls. So we'll go down into the neck. So you start off darker and just bring it down. You can see some places where I've started to smudge the watercolour, but Shan't mind too much. There we go. There's some green coming in. I do love using watercolour. It's one of my favourite mediums. I've always been a watercolour user. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so she's got a little bit of colour on her face. And we won't worry too much because, you know, we can keep adding to it. That's absolutely fine. I want to go to a red. I appreciate some of my colours are off the page, but off the screen, but it's sort of more important that you see what I'm doing on the actual picture. So just wetting some red, and I'm just going to do some circles on her cheeks and then smudge it out a bit. That's just how I like my girls. I like them to have really rosy cheeks. And then I just blot. And I keep doing that until I've built up the depth and layer that I like. I have absolutely no idea what this line is through my page. I have no idea. It was something that's, I think, on the paper, but as it's getting wet and I'm drawing over it, it's getting worse. But shan't worry about it at all. Yeah. So we keep going, folks. Let's do some lips. Let's do some red for her lips. Okay, when you're doing watercolour, so remember when we did the hair and I talked about wet in wet, whereby anything on the page that was wet, the watercolour would spread and mingle. Just bear that in mind when you're doing the face. If you've made, say, this bit particularly wet, and then you go and put your lip colour on, it will all bleed and blend into each other. So just bear that in mind. If you're new to watercolour and you're a bit cautious about it, then just leave it to dry before you do the next little bit, okay? Because I don't want it to all run on you and then you to be really upset that it's run, and you know, because I've had that happen to me many times, even though I know what I'm doing with watercolour, because it's still annoying. Okay, so I'll just blot the colour there because I want her to have lipstick, sort of, you know, brighter lips, but I don't want them to be too bold and in your face. I want it to have like more of like a little lip tint rather than lipstick per se. And sorry, I should have put my water over the other side because I keep crossing my hand over this shot so you can't see. So I'm going to give her some dark eyebrows. It's using black, I think, because she's got such dark hair. Just going to give her some darker eyebrows. Again, just watch your wet in wet. If your skin is far too wet still, leave it until the skin is dry, and then do it. And then I've got 2 pots of water now. I've only got one on one side. I'm going to start with a brown for her eyelids because I want to give her a bit of shadow and a bit of shading. Shadow and shading. That's a lot of shushish. So I'm going to start with a brown. I'm just going to take it. Well, it's a yellowy ochre. I'm just going to take it above her lashes a bit there. Like that. And then I'm going to go in with a bit of a darker colour brown. Brown. Bit of a brown. Is that going to be too... Oh, that's a bit too orangey. Come on. Pay attention, Anna. Pay attention. As you'll notice, I'm not actually using a really teeny tiny brush, but I just use the kind of the tip of the brush and then angle it. So yeah, so that's just giving me a bit of shadow that I wanted on her eyes. I'll blot that a bit. And I might go a little bit funky and give her give her some purple eyeshadow to match her hair. Why not? She's not real. She's an imaginary character. So let's just give her a little bit of eyeshadow. Do, 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 do. So you can see, I'm one of these. I'm a watercolor painter that blots a lot. You know, not everyone blots as much as I do, but I blot a lot. Cool. Okay, so I've just given her a little bit of a tinge to the eyelid. Nothing major, but it's just so that you can see that there's like a bit of an eye socket there without it being too prominent. I don't want anything to be too prominent on my love. I'm just going back in with a bit of brown. I've got my wet and wet going on now. That's what happens when you talk and you don't concentrate. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to do the tiniest little dottage on her nose for her nostrils. Like so. And I'm just using brown. I very rarely use black for sort of accents. I mean, I do sometimes. But I'm just kind of doing the crease of her lip. I just want to bring some of that brown down underneath to give her a bit of shadow on her bottom lip too. Massive blotter. Yeah, I don't know why. Just everyone develops different techniques to kind of suit themselves, and this is just kind of one of mine. We were taught to do various different techniques at college, but college was a while ago now. And I think you just kind of like driving. You just kind of start to develop ways that work for you. Bring her. She's got a bit of a bulbous nose. Yeah. I don't tend to do much further than that with my nose, because I quite like it to be subtle. Occasionally, I probably won't with her, but occasionally I will use a darker colour or a bit of a grey, darker sort of skin tone, and I'll kind of I'll do it a bit and then I can blot it. I'll sort of do that to give her a bit of shadow so you can see that there's the nose, but I don't physically draw the nose in. There we go. So you can see there's a bit of a nose going on there. I'll actually tint her cheeks just a little bit more. Give her a bit more tint on her cheeks. Yeah. Oh, I've lost my brush. I just keep layering it, you know, that's what I do. Just keep layering it up and blotting until you know, if it's too strong for you, blot it. If, you know, re-wet it to blend it. That's exactly what I do. Until you get to a point where you're happy with how she looks. I'm happy with how she looks. Apart from there's a really great big line that's coming through there. I'm not happy with that. So I'm going to get my pencil again. Is this dry? Yeah, it's dry. And then just sort of bring in her eyelids lashes a bit more. And just bring that in. I'm a bit of an outliner. I'm terrible for it. I used to be a lot worse. And just my blending stuff. Just blend that out so it's not so harsh. Just be careful if you're doing that and your paper's still wet. You don't want to blend a hole into your There we go. So I'm debating whether to tidy up her hairline a bit, actually. Let's do that. Let's do that. So let's tidy her hair up a bit. So I'm just using some paint, some more watercolour paint, just to kind of tidy her hair. And her face a bit. It's too... like so. See, I don't want it too strong, I just want it a bit tidier for her. What I'm also going to use is paint pen. It's very subtly drawing. Oh, wiggled, I wiggled. Because she's got dark hair. I'm not going to do eyelashes on her. I'm not going to do eyelashes on her because I think she's quite delicate. But I'm just going to use my paint pen actually to tidy this hair up a bit because I'm not so keen on the effect of the watercolour. So I'm just going to tidy it up with pen. Okay, so I've just tidied up her hair just a little bit and I'm fairly happy with how she looks. So she's very pale. I'm not too keen on that splodge there, but you know, never mind, never mind. So once the whole thing is dry, what you want to do is you want to grab your hairspray or your fixative, depending on what you use. I'm cheap. I'm a cheapskate. I admit it. I just use hairspray. I don't buy the expensive fixative spray because I don't. The only difference really is that this smells like hairspray. So obviously you do this in a very well ventilated room or, you know, all that kind of health and safety stuff. And just lightly give it a spray over the whole thing. And that will just seal in your watercolour so that it won't run anymore. Also, something to bear in mind is it makes the watercolour darker. So you have a much darker final result. And I'm really happy with her. You can decide what to do with her now. I'm tempted to cut her out to make that line a lot. And I'm tempted to kind of... let's do it. Let's be brave. Let's be brave. You can see it. Let's cut her out. Let's see. Oh, brave. Maybe I should actually draw it in where I want to cut it first. That might help. So I'm going to use a white paint pen that's decided not to work on me. So I won't use that. Luckily I have another one waiting. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to bring her hair. Oh, commit to it, Anna, commit. I have commitment issues when it comes to art. Right, that's what we're going to do. I've committed. Something wrong with my paint pens. I abuse them. I'm terrible. Right. Oh, I'm scared, but I'm going to do it. Well, I've got to do it now because I've made the lines. Right. Yeah. Well, you know, you've made the lines. So you may say, like, look at all that yumminess. That's really wasted. You could use that for collage, or you could think about how you wanted to draw your girl's hair before you started painting, which I didn't really, did I? I just kind of went with it. But that's what happens when you kind of, you know, you're doing a tutorial. You know, you just, my aim for this girl was to show you how to do the technique with the galaxy hair, not to have a final result for myself. So, you know, that's how it goes. Smells beautiful, hairspray. Oh, there she is. Oh, so I've got that. I could definitely use that for some collage in a journal around her. Here we go. There she is. There she is. Oh, she's beautiful. You can see on the back there how wet the paper got and how much the watercolour soaked through. So there she is. Where's my journal? Oh, here's my journal. Here's my journal. So I'll show you again how I did my other Galaxy Girl. I did her, left her on the page. She's pretty. She's prettier. So I left her on the page, and I just painted in like a night sky around her, and then I glued her into my journal with masking tape and glued that over it, and then I made a tip-in for her. But this girl, let's find a blank page. Who knows what I'm going to do? I now have a Galaxy Girl to put into my journal in some way, shape or form, and I'm not sure how or what yet. So, we'll see. But I really like her. I'm happy with her. I'm not so happy with her hair. I have realised now that I did cut off a really scrummy yummy bit, but I'm not so happy with her hair, but I'm happy with her face. So you win some, you lose some. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed that, and it was fun for you, and you've now got a lovely Galaxy Girl that you can put in your journals. I know I'm really pleased with my Galaxy Girl, and I'm going to just work out what I'm going to do, how I'm going to incorporate her into my art journal. And no doubt you will see that when I eventually do a flip through of this journal. So I hope you liked it. If there are any more tutorials that you'd like to see from me, then please do let me know. If I can share, i.e. I know how to do it, then I'm very happy to share. If there's any of my other artwork that I do that you'd like to know how to do yourself, then just let me know, and I will try and work out a tutorial on how to do that for you. So thanks for watching. I'll see you again. Bye.